Hello, mate, and welcome to Let's Code Season 6, Episode 26, I think. Um, so, this episode is going to be an interesting one because it's going to be really short, but it's going to add something really cool to the game. We are going to add treasure chests to our game. This is going to be in two variants. We're going to have a unlocked chest, which is just a standard one. I'm also going to have a locked chest as well. We could make one class that does both, but what I think I will do is to make it a bit easier later on is to just create two classes. It's not really that difficult, so it's going to be literally very, very quick thing. So let's get on with it. So here we've got our treasure chest, and it inherits from the entity parent class. And all we are taking in as a parameter for the treasure chest is the loot that it's going to contain. Now, because we've only got a 4 item inventory, and this is a kind of retro dungeon crawling type of game, we don't want like a loot table. You could have a loot table in there, but for the sake of this, I think a treasure chest is just going to contain a specific piece of loot, one item of loot. And you could ask, what's the point? Why not just put the loot on the ground? Well, that's kind of part of the fun, isn't it? So it takes in loot into its own constructor, and then it calls the entity class's constructor, which obviously takes several fields. The first one being the name. Then the third one is the only one we're interested in, and that is the usable. The rest, it can't move, it can't attack, and it's not alive. So the rest of the flags are false. Just the third one for usable is true. And then obviously the icon, we just called it treasure underscore one. And our entity class looks for the icons in a folder of that name. And then obviously we're going to set self.loot. The instance loot is going to be the loot that we've added as a parameter there. So we obviously need to pass a game object as the loot that it's going to contain. Now, the cool thing about this is it doesn't have to be a game object. What you could do is have treasure chests that contain enemy mobs. There's nothing stopping you from doing that because this will just open up and pop out whatever thing we've put inside it. So we don't need an update method to do anything. However, because it's an abstract method, we have to declare it. So as you can see, we've got define update, taking in the player as an argument, but we just pass. And the same thing for move. Because our object doesn't need to move, we just pass there as well. Then in the interact method, this is also an abstract method, but we actually need to put code in this one. So again, we take the player as a parameter, and then what we do is we take a temporary position. So we call the get object position method from the room class and just say, where am I? Basically, that's what this line of code is saying. It's saying, where am I? And then we record it because we're now going to remove the chest from the room. And in its place, we're going to spawn using add item XY at the temporary position that we recorded the loot. So as I said, this can be anything. It can be an enemy mob. It can be an NPC if you want it to be. It can be whatever. Okay. And that is going to work just fine. In fact, if we wanted to, we could just put this code into the setup method of our room class. No, this is our game class. Sorry, stand corrected. Where we create a health potion as before. And now we create a treasure chest. And inside the treasure chest, we're actually going to put the health potion that we've created here into the treasure chest. And then we're going to use add item to put the treasure chest in the room rather than just putting the health potion into the room. And that would work just fine. But we want to add lock functionality to our chest as well. So we're going to quickly create an icon for our normal treasure chest. And then we will move on to the next bit. Of course, first things first, we need a key to be able to open a locked chest. So we're going to create a new game object, just like we did with our food and drink and health potions and all that stuff. And we're just going to call our class chest key, and it inherits from game object. This doesn't take any parameters into its constructor. We're just going to create the object, and then in the super constructor, we're going to tell it that its name is key. It doesn't have a value. It is picker upperable, and its icon is key underscore one. And then because it's not usable, it's just something that we have to have in our inventory to be able to open locked chests. We don't need to do anything in here other than return true. So that is really simple for our chest key. If we have one of these in our inventory, we'll be able to open locked chests. And here's the code for the locked treasure chest entity object. And as you can see, it's pretty much identical in most of its execution to the ordinary treasure chest, except for when we call the parent classes in it, we're going to add locked treasure chest as our name instead of just treasure chest. And we're also now using treasure underscore 2 as our icon. This means that we can have an icon for a chest that's locked. So the player will be able to see whether the chest is locked without walking up to it. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just using the same icon, but that's, that'll be up to you to create those icons. Now, the interact method is where things get interesting. We're using this new command called any. And what we're basically using this command for is we're saying if there are any chest key items within the get player inventory method, which is in the player class, obviously. In other words, we're saying if the inventory contains an instance of the chest key game object, then we will do the following code. Otherwise, we'll do something else. So we're essentially calling the same code to open the chest in that little bit of a block there. You can see temporary position, remove object, and then add the object in the position. But now we're only doing that if the player has a chest key within their inventory. If they don't have a chest key within their inventory, instead we just show the add message in the player, this chest is locked, which will put a message in the left-hand box saying this chest is locked, prompting the player that they need to go and find a chest key. Nice and easy. So now our game's setup method looks a bit like this, where we've created 2 health potions, and we've created a treasure chest which contains one of the health potions, and we've created a locked treasure chest which contains the other one, and we've also created a chest key. So we spawn those objects into our room using the current room add item method, and then we should very easily be able to walk around the room, pick up the items from the unlocked chest straight away, and then if we pick up the key, we can grab the items. So let's have a look and see if that works. Here I am in my game, and we'll just have a quick look around. So this one is locked, as you can see by the message. So we'll whip up and we'll check the other treasure chest, which should open instantly, interact with it, and it spawns the object, and we can then pick that up the object, go and grab the key, and then come down and interact with this chest again. Interact with it, boom, it opens, grab the object out of it, and then we can use the objects just like we did before. We can't use the key, but we can use the health potions. So that's it. We've now added chests to our game. Really, really easy because we've already laid all the groundwork, much like a lot of the other code that we're going to be adding. Because we've done so much groundwork already, we don't need to really hardly put any effort in at all now to create these objects. So we've got chests, lockable chests that can contain any other item within the game. And we need the key to be able to open locked chests. We don't need the key to be able to open normal chests. Can't use the key in our inventory, has to just be in our inventory in order for us to be able to open those locked chests. And that is really it. So hopefully you enjoyed that, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. But until then, you take damn good care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.